a weight loss, we call it fat metabolism. And as the name implies, we're able to assemble, create through the quantum instruction. It's not a chemical process. We're able to assemble the molecular.
Welcome to another episode of the Resistingbeta podcast. I am excited about today's episode because it's unique. It's different. It's exciting, and it's technology for all you guys that love technology and things that are new and exciting. So today we have Tom Paladino with us, and he's a holistic medical expert. He works with Scalar. He's a Scalar light researcher and humanitarian, and he hails from Florida, sunny Florida right now, and he helps men with their spiritual, mental, and physical health. So thank you so much for being here, Tom. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this.
So Tom, why are you excited about helping and sharing your stories with the men of the Resistingbeta community? Why do you want to serve this community based on what you know about them?
Why do I want to serve? Because what I have works. I work with energy. Energy is fundamental. And I've developed a technique with scalar energy, the energy of the stars, in which I can direct this energy and improve health, well-being. When you're working with a primal force, you can guarantee the outcome. Energy never makes a mistake. Energy does what you tell it to do. So I can guarantee the outcome with energy. And over the years, I've seen the results. So I can essentially guarantee the results with an energy instrument. Now, everybody responds differently, but what I'm saying is energy as a fundamental source, as a primal force, will produce the effect that you ask of it. Energy does what you tell it to do. So with that in mind, I work with energy healing, energy instruments, and I can guarantee that it will work. I can guarantee that the functions that I proclaim are indeed valid and that an energy instrument will carry out those functions.
So what got you into this? It's a super niche technology, and what inspired this journey to really climb a mountain of a technology that most people don't understand, probably besides you and the people that have used it? And what kind of got you into this early on? And maybe the Reader's Digest version on that story.
Long and short, I studied Nikola Tesla, the great scientist, and Tesla developed radiant energy instruments or scalar energy instruments, what we call zero-point energy instruments. And that's one of the instruments that I have reproduced, a zero-point energy instrument, a quantum instrument. These are not electrical instruments. Rather, I'm working with a different energy spectrum, scalar energy or zero-point energy. Now, why is that important? Well, the downside of electricity, it has sometimes a negative consequence. When you're working with this type of energy, scalar energy, there's no physical component. We don't work with electrons or protons. It's non-physical, it's instructional. So working with a scalar energy instrument that broadcasts instructions is safe. And when you're broadcasting those instructions, it always works. Nothing can impede scalar energy instructions. That's what's so important about my work.
So now this is super. Obviously it's very new, and I've been to your website. I've checked some things out, and I'm still kind of unknowledgeable about. That's not even a word, but a novice in this thing. And can you break it down to a fifth grade level on why it works so well? Because you're so convicted. Your testimonies in your website are super interesting on the transformation from a whole different spectrum of ailments and that kind of stuff. Can you break it down to super simple, crayon level for us heathens out here?
And by the way, everybody's a scalar energy expert because everybody has worked with this energy unknowingly, sunlight, starlight.
Okay.
So what am I getting at? A scalar energy instrument is, again, a primal force. It's a fundamental force. So when I work with these instruments, nothing can impede its action. Now, when it comes down to human action, some people resist. Some people make mistakes. Some people don't believe. When I'm working with divine action or this primal force, Nothing can impede. There is no mistake. Nobody can stop it, so to speak. So this is why I like working with energy. It never goes on strike. It's there 24 hours a day. It never makes a mistake. Energy is perfect. It's perfect instructions. That's what I have with an energy instrument. Now, why did I get into this? The great scientist, Nikola Tesla. Tesla was the first man to develop scalar energy instruments. If you go back 100 years ago, he had a free tower, an energy tower in Colorado Springs. And he was harnessing radiant energy or free energy from the sun and the stars. And with that free energy from the sun and the stars in Colorado Springs, Tesla demonstrated that he had some type of control, mastery over nature. Now that's a strong statement, but I stand by it. Why? Scalar energy, scalar light is the driving force, the animating force of nature. So if we're working with these free energy instruments, we do not produce the energy. The stars produce this. We don't rely upon a power plant or some type of chemical action. This is non-physical action. We simply harness the kinetic energy of the universe. So this is so profound because this is the beginning prototype. I have a prototype of a free energy instrument. Now, furthermore, when I use these instruments, I don't need an infrastructure. I don't need relay stations. I don't need telephone poles. I don't need transformers. I don't need induction motors. I don't need low Earth orbiting satellites. I simply access this energy through what we call the ether or the atmosphere. So it's free energy with an existing infrastructure. Now,
so
what am I getting at? This is the technology of the future.
So let's dive in a little bit narrower on maybe some of the stories on the application of this energy, because I think that, if I'm talking to an electrician, he's super excited about why the lights turn on in my house, right? And I don't really care. I just want the lights to turn on, right? So I'd really love to, because from the research that you guys sent over, it can help with viruses and bacteria and fungi and nutrients and weight loss and hormones. And I mean, it sounds almost too good to be true, and that's why I love some of the stories on your website. So can you tell me just some awesome stories of like some of the before and after experiences of maybe somebody who wasn't quite a believer, was skeptical, but trusted you as the expert, and kind of how it helped transform them, and maybe especially from the men that you've worked with.
Okay. Well, many people come to us and they say, well, prove it, Tom. And I should, because it's new and it's groundbreaking. And obviously people want to see the merit, the validity. So we offer free sessions on our website. So I'm going to make a real quick comparison. You have the electromagnetic spectrum that involves some type of physical action, some type of chemical action. You have the scalar energy dimension that's non-physical, that never uses chemicals. It uses instructions. So we're making a transition from the chemical reactions to instructions. And I much rather work with instructions because it's much simpler and it's so safe. There is no chemical consequence. There is no negative consequence when we're working with light, energy, pure light, instructions, information. Now, how do we prove this? People prove it to themselves. I've devised these instruments. These are scalar energy instruments. And I don't have there's nobody who's duplicated my work. I don't have a peer. Presently, I have no peer. So how do I prove that this works? I don't. People prove it themselves. I can't give you a peer-reviewed paper. I have no peers. Nobody has duplicated my work yet. That's how cutting edge this is. So at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding as to how people feel.
So you have some examples of the people that you've worked with and kind of like what they felt like before and what they felt like after?
Right. And that's the key, the before and after. For instance, some people will come to me and they say, Tom, I have a bacterial infection. I have the Lyme spirochete, okay? And after I work with them, people tell me they'll have a diagnostic test, a polymerase chain reaction test, and there's no indication of Borrelia burgdorferi, which is the cause of Lyme disease. So something happened between the time span before they came to me for a session and after a scalar energy session, they no longer have any indication of the Lyme spirochete. And it's my contention, it's my theory, that working through information, we can break apart a microbe. We can break apart a species of bacterium.
And then, like the weight loss and hormone therapy, tell us a little bit about that an application of the technology.
Yeah, we have a weight loss, we call it fat metabolism. And as the name implies, we're able to assemble, create, through the quantum instruction, it's not a chemical process, we're able to assemble the molecular constitution, or the molecular, if you will, package of, say, leptin, or some other type of enzyme, or some protein that has been responsible for fat breakdown, the metabolization of fat. Now, when we do that, it's a twofold result. After we start assembling through light, scalar light, we can assemble hormones, enzymes, digestive enzymes, various types of neurotransmitters, all of these things abetting the metabolizing of fat. People say their appetite is suppressed and that they feel that they're starting to lose weight. Now, I have to rely upon the testimony of people because there's no test for my work yet. You can't test instructions. You can't test this. You can't measure instructions. You can measure, if you will, a protein shake. You can measure electricity. This is not a protein shake. This is not electromagnetic energy. So I cannot measure my work. I cannot measure what I consider this omnipresence of scalar energy. There is no basic unit. So what am I getting at? I have a new science that cannot be measured, but I can show the before and after results.
Mm-hmm. So what are some other examples of those before and after results when it comes to men specifically?
Yeah, well, one of the protocols that I've perfected, a scalar energy instrument can pinpoint, can find, can identify microbes, germs. And it's all done by way of light recognition. It's not a chemical recognition. And a scalar energy instrument then can find, can identify that signature, that energy signature of a microbe. Let's call it the herpes virus. And then in so doing, we can identify the herpes virus and its molecular constitution. And if my two fingers represents the chemical bond or the molecular structure of the herpes virus, we negate the molecular bond. We actually break down the molecular bond of a virus, meaning what? The virus fragments, it falls apart. Now, I can't prove that because I don't have supersonic eyesight. I've never seen this happen. But people tell me that they feel that microbes are fragmented or broken apart, that they no longer have a viral load for herpes. And what's really telling is every time I've done this, performed this function, the before and after results are incredible. Every time I've worked with people who had a herpes viral load, after I work with them, they no longer have any indication of herpes. They no longer have a herpes viral load. Now, what does that mean to anybody, including men? The herpes virus passes the blood-brain barrier. It's been known to infect tissue, brain tissue, our neurons. And it's now considered to be one of the drivers behind Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. When you have a neuroinvasive virus inside your brain or your spinal column, that's going to impair your neurological function. So what am I saying? With a painless administration of scalar light, I can not only identify the herpes virus, but negate its molecular bonds. That's what I theorize. In practice, or in reality, people tell me after the scalar light session, they no longer have a viral load. So I leave the interpretation up to the scientific community. They're going to have to develop a scalar energy instrument and either prove or disprove my work. Nobody's been able to prove or disprove my work.
So when you say it eliminates the viral load, does that mean that there's no longer you have stories of people that have gone through this process and been a part of receiving the scalar energy?
Yes.
They no longer have herpes related symptoms and they don't have to take the herpes preventative medicine?
Correct. Exactly. That's standard. That's the cause and effect relationship that we see. Many people say, I feel great. I no longer have blisters. They go off of Valtrex of their own accord. I don't recommend that. And they don't need Valtrex anymore in their life to combat the herpes virus. According to them, they feel great. Now, this is pertinent because it's their constitution. I can't speak for them. And then really in stunning fashion, their PCR tests, polymerase chain reaction tests, all of those tests come back negative, no viral load.
And how many people have you gone through something like this with?
We've probably had at least 1,000 people say that they no longer have any viral load for herpes, or they don't have any symptoms of herpes.
And because obviously herpes is not curable, right? It's one of those
That's
things
why I
that
pinpoint that.
Wow. This is
Yes.
huge, man.
Once you have the herpes virus, you have it for life. There
Right.
is no known cure for herpes. In other words, no medicine has ever been developed that would break down the herpes virus or would eradicate it completely. Now, what am I saying? With my sessions, without equivocation and without fail, everybody I've ever worked with who once had the herpes virus no longer has any viral load for herpes. That's the scientific evidence. The PCR test is objective, but then it has to be interpreted. What does that mean? Well, I'll theorize that scalar energy eradicated the herpes virus. But, we have to leave the door open. How is it that everybody who's come through my door, so to speak, leaves herpes free? No viral, let's say no viral load for herpes. That begs the question, what is going on?
Yeah. It almost sounds too good to be true, my friend.
I know. Now, this is why I laid the foundation as we began our talk. I work with energy that does not make a mistake. Energy is fundamental. When you follow the laws of science, then the laws of science are incontrovertible. They'll never fail you. And I'm working with the laws of science, scalar science, with this instrument. And this instrument can find a virus and break down the molecular bonds. Those are the laws of science that I follow. Now, remember I said it's fail-safe. It's guaranteed. Why? The laws of science are guaranteed.
And you can do all of this from just having a picture of the person. Is that right?
Yes. So let me explain to your audience. When I'm working with this energy, it's not electricity. This is a new chapter of physics. This is Tesla physics. Everything has energy, including a photograph of a person. This is my photograph. My photograph has a scalar signature, a scalar energy signature. If I wanted to eradicate the Epstein-Barr virus, I literally would take a photograph of the Epstein-Barr virus and place it inside a scalar energy instrument next to my photograph. So the energy from Epstein-Barr is communicating with my photograph. And that arrangement in a force field, now this is all information, it's not a chemical process. The information of Epstein-Barr seeks out Epstein-Barr in my quantum field. And not by a chemical, but by an informational input, I can not only find Epstein-Barr, but eradicate it. Through information. Okay? It's an informational process. It's not a biological process.
So what was the virus that you had just referenced?
I also mentioned Epstein-Barr. And
What's Epstein-Barr?
Previously, I mentioned the herpes virus. And by the way, both viruses per se are incurable. Once you have them for life.
What is Epstein-Barr?
Epstein-Barr is one of the herpes viruses. It's been known to attack the thyroid gland. Some people say it's responsible for malaise. Some people say it contributes to mononucleosis.
Okay. So there's a lot of other things that referenced on your website, kind of like nutritional stuff and energy, and the ability for like minerals and that kind of stuff. So is it? I mean, there's one part attacking a virus, the other part is health cure or attacking infections, bacteria, fungi, and another part. What about from the health optimization standpoint?
Yes. Okay. So again, energy does what you tell it to do. This is a photograph of beta carotene. If I were to place my photograph next to this force field, now these are two force fields. Beta carotene would download into my force field. It's not a chemical reaction, it's an energetic reaction. And beta carotene would now be assembled inside my quantum body.
Okay.
It's not an assembly according to biochemistry. This is not biochemical. It's informational. So I take the information of beta carotene and then I can assemble that by way of information into my quantum field. What do I like about information? There's never any die-off. There's never any toxic shock. You're not working with chemicals, you're working with information. And information never makes a mistake. Information, once again, is energy, which is perfect. There's no mistake with information. So there's no biological downside here. Information is perfect.
So it's like a wireless USB drive where you're like combining the two files, and like one of them is like it's like a the antivirus, right? The antivirus software, but it's like wireless, but for the human body, and you just have to direct like the ray, right? You got to point the ray in the right direction on which information it needs to seek out of sorts.
Thank you. Prior to the computer, prior to wireless telephones, we had to do things by either a fax machine or the mail, snail mail. We did not have this transfer of information. We're working on now StreamYard, and we have this transfer of information. It's a wireless transfer of information. Well, we can do that through a computer, or why not a scalar energy computer? That's wireless transmission of information. Obviously, you're not in my office. I'm not in your office. We're transferring. The light waves are carrying our signal.
So that's kind of like the Wi-Fi signal, the scalar device.
Yes.
And then we're the devices and just kind of computing the two between what information you're trying to direct or focus on.
Yes, sir. Now,
interesting.
Now, to add to that, when we're looking at the computer industry, you need hardware. You need cell phone towers. You need low Earth orbiting satellites. You need such an infrastructure. Scalar energy, the infrastructure is free. It pre-exists.
So is it all
trillions of dollars that we spend now to transfer information or to create power? Transfer information or to create power. Industry has evolved around that. What am I saying? The new generation of power generation and the distribution of power, scalar energy is from the sun and the stars. It's free energy. And the infrastructure pre-exists. It's the ether, or what we call the atmosphere. Call it what you will. So this is the inexpensive way to power the world and to distribute the power.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So what are some of your favorite stories that really have impacted you in your journey and have moved you and moved your heart from the people that this technology has helped?
I'm revealing a photograph from India. This is an HIV/AIDS clinic in Delhi, India. We've worked with 5,000 people at an HIV clinic. Over 5,000 people who once were HIV positive have sent us their photograph. After we've worked with these people at Om Prakash, an HIV clinic in Delhi, India, people who've had a follow-up PCR test, nobody has any viral load out of 5,000 people.
So what is the difference between you saying they don't have a viral load and that they're cured? Like what's the difference?
Because I say that they don't have a viral load because I can prove that. They've sent me test results.
Okay.
But I need the medical community to say they're cured, and I'll tell you why, for two reasons.
Gotcha.
I don't work along medical lines. This is not medicine. And for me to say they've been cured, then I'd have to be addressing medical science. I work with informational science. Remember, I don't work with biological science. I work with non-physical informational science. Now, from my standpoint, I can pinpoint the HIV virus and eradicate it from a photograph. So if you want to say that I can eradicate or cure the signal of HIV, that's accurate. But I have to wait for a biological science to say that these people no longer have the HIV virus in them. I don't work with the people, I work with the force field. There's a big difference between biological life, people, and the force field of people.
So if those people at the HIV clinic go and talk to one of the nurses or doctors at the clinic, what does that conversation look like?
Physicians are astounded because over 5,000 people have been treated and they don't have HIV. They have no viral load. They have no indication of being HIV positive.
So it's a miracle.
And the word is getting out. And, if it was only 5 people, you'd say, well, that's happenstance. It's chance. 5,000 people is beyond probability of being a chance. And so what's my point? The word is getting out. And people they're astounded. They say, well, what is this? What's going on in Delhi, India?
And it's you having each individual person's photograph and having a picture of the HIV virus and utilizing the your device.
Yes, correct. Now, something else about my device. I can work with one photograph or I can work with a collage.
Oh.
A group of people at a time. Or I could work with 1 million photographs simultaneously.
Okay.
A scalar energy instrument can work with miniaturized photographs. I can work with 1 million photographs at a time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Now, so this is beyond what we call brick and mortar. This is not the physical world. This is the non-physical world of spirit or information.
What about like cancer or heart disease? The two to three biggest killers out there.
I haven't perfected that. I'm looking at cancer. I don't know how to cure cancer. I can't do that.
Okay. Just curious. Yeah, I mean
it's on the radar, so to speak, but God has not given me the wisdom.
Fair enough. So I'm kind of curious. So we talked about the weight loss, and then how about the hormone components? Because I know that a lot of men are talking about like low T and having to take T supplements and TRT and some peptides and steroid components and that kind of stuff. Have you gone down that rabbit hole yet with the device?
Yes. I have the ability to assemble male hormones. I myself practice male hormones on a daily basis, and it helps. It increases my strength, but I think it also increases my energy level, my alertness. So what am I saying? With the scalar energy instrument, we can assemble testosterone. Scalar energy can look at the makeup, the molecular makeup, at least the energetic makeup of testosterone, and then download that into me.
Have you tested your blood from like a before and after standpoint to see the percentage jumps and that kind of stuff?
I did, but it was the time span was it wasn't relevant. It was a time span of say 5 or 6 years. It's not relevant.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. It's not relevant. But other men have, and also women who've had female hormone therapy have shown blood panels, and it's significantly enhanced before and after. In other words, the blood panel after the scalar energy sessions shows that something has improved. Their hemoglobin concentration, a lack of parasites, a lack of viral load, their triglycerides are different. You'd have to go to each blood panel and look at that separately. But yes, the before and after for some men and women who've had blood panels has been significant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, this is so crazy stuff, and it's definitely stretches the mind quite a bit on your comfort zone of like, whoa, it sounds like hogwash, like a grandparent would say. But I also think that there's so many closed-minded opportunities in life toward, and that's why I like what you have structured to where it's like, okay, well, maybe it does sound like hogwash, but like, what if you just try it out and see? And there's really no risk to try it out, because if you want to try it out, there's a free trial that Tom has offered where you don't even have to give a credit card. You don't have to do anything besides just participate and have an open mind and share what you're dealing with. So I think this is definitely a cool experiment, right? Like maybe you can be part of something that changes the world by just stepping outside your comfort zone and stepping into something that's a new science, right? So
it's a new branch of physics. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that, man. So each of my guests, I ask the same question. So the question I ask every single time is, what does it mean to be a man to you, Tom?
I'm married, so I have a responsibility to be a man to my wife, to be a good husband. And I've got stepkids, so I have a responsibility to them, and now I have grandkids. So that's a lot of responsibility. Anything from financial to emotional support, you've got to be there. Now, whatever your station in life, just do the best you can. Do the best you can.
So one thing that I ask each guest is, and this might be a little bit unique with this conversation because it's more technology based and not so much a lot of my previous guests are mindset and weight loss and strength training and sexual health and that kind of stuff. I'm wondering that if there's a guy that's struggling right now and you'd have some advice, maybe if you're giving some advice, do you have a grandson or a granddaughter?
2 granddaughters.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe someday they get married and you're giving your best advice to that young man and he's struggling a bit. Yeah. What would be some baby steps that you would give to him over the next 7 days to gain some momentum in his life?
Anybody, but if you're a married man, just take it one day at a time and try and make gradual improvements. I realize there's problems, but if you make a gradual improvement over your life, at the end of a year or 2 years or 10 years, you've seen such dramatic improvement in your lifestyle. So how do you go about addressing problems, or how do you improve your life? I do it by one issue at a time. I had 2 goals this morning, and I accomplished those 2 goals for my business. Now, if you can do that 365 days a year, you're way ahead of the game. So I think people lose perspective as to how these small gains, these small steps become gargantuan. They become a cumulative effect over the years.
Yeah, man, it's those 1% changes that make all the difference.
Yeah.
And those small choices.
You're right.
That just add up. And if you just stack them up every single day, it's amazing. You might not feel it in 6 months. You might not feel it in a year, but 3 to 5 years from now, your life could be forever changed if you just stack up those 1% moments. So I appreciate you sharing that. So, Tom, I want to honor you for a second here and acknowledge you because it is never easy to be a pioneer, especially in science, which I am sure there are hundreds of thousands of people that call you all kinds of names and disbelief and all kinds of stuff. So I just want to acknowledge you for your mental toughness and your perseverance and your passion for trying to get the word out for something that most people, I still don't quite understand it. This is way over my marketing brain head. But man, it's so cool that you've weathered that storm and you're continuing to push forward. So I want to honor your perseverance and your stick-to-itiveness for this adventure that you're on, man.
Thank you. That's kind of you. And let me say this. We have a grassroots following because people see the results. And when people see the results, then you make believers out of them. So I want people to test this. That's why I give away 15 days of free sessions. Go ahead, test it. Prove it to yourself. I leave it up to people. But the people have been gracious. They've been very elegant and very gracious. So God bless the grassroots movement.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. If you want to find out more information about Tom, check out our show notes. He does have the free trial that you guys can try it on the website. I'll attach his website in the show notes. And Tom, if men have more questions and want to dive in a little bit further, where can they follow you and ask some questions and can continue learning more about this amazing technology that you've developed?
Our center point is the website, scalarlight.com. Visit the website. We have hundreds of articles that explain my work. And at the bottom of the homepage, you'll see our social media sites. Start at the website, scalarlight.com. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, it's a lot of the testimonials were amazing to me as I read through them this morning to just try to grasp a little bit in my my dense marketing man brain here. I'm trying to grasp into quantum physics because it makes me think of Ant-Man from Marvel with the quantum realm, So I keep thinking of Paul Rudd and Marvel movies as you say that word, But I don't think they're probably not related. But the word alone is makes me think about want to go check out a Marvel movie, So.
This is futuristic, but this is the world that Tesla saw: free energy. And you're no longer bound to a wire to transport energy. You can send energy across the universe. Scalar energy is going to change the world.
So it's not going to turn me into Ant-Man, though.
It's not going to turn you into Ant-Man. God bless. You're not, I never wanted to develop that type of technology. You stay as you are. We like you just as you are.
Awesome, man. Well, Tom, I really appreciate you helping lift the men up and you investing into the men in the Resisting Beta community. And I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much for investing the time.
Yeah, thank you, sir.